Hello, can you hear me?
You're good. You're live.
So I can't hear anything right now.
Okay. Welcome to technology, folks.
I can't hear.
You gotta love it, man. Technology is great when it works, folks, but Normie, we can hear you, so you just have to talk, and we got you. We're good to go. It's okay.
I can't. Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go. Just go ahead. Just talk. We
I
got
can't
you.
hear anything.
Okay. You gotta love it.
Wow.
It's like the blind and braille all in once. We're all good. Let's go. Anyways, I can start.
All right. So I can't hear what I'm saying. I hope you can hear me. Well, you know what? Okay, if you guys can hear me, hope you can hear me. Welcome back to ReKonnect You. As always, I'm Norm, and with my good friend Kevin.duguay. Kevin, how you doing this week, my friend? I know we're having some challenges, but we're here.
We're getting there. We're on the ice. We're on the golf. We're on the course right now. We're on the first tee, so we got to go. It's we got 3 foursomes behind us, and we got to get this round of golf going. So looking forward to it. It's all good. Anyways, I will get going here. So, folks, I want a big, huge welcome to Stuart Holcroft from the United Kingdom. And he is looking for, actually, we're looking forward to hearing from Stu and his past and his background with what he's done in the area of sports, human performance, mindset coaching, a few other parts of the business side of life that he's been involved with, and then we're going to get to hear about his journey with coming into our technology. So before I get into that, I just want to share with the viewers that what we're talking today is about a technology, a wearable neurotechnology, okay, that comes in a form of a patch, a sock, and an insole. But we're going to focus on the patch. And what it is, folks, I'm just going to hold up to the camera here. We're going to show you some stuff live with a picture. There we go, right there. Patch, wafer-like thinness, uses the power of touch with your sensory nervous system. And if you are wondering about how important your brain is, well, in fact, your brain is in control and orchestrating every single chemical reaction in your body. So what we've discovered with this technology, and you're going to hear you're going to hear some stuff from Stewie and myself and Norm of what happens when your brain is optimized through this technology. So it uses the power of touch. So there's no drugs, there's no chemicals, there's no side effects. It's using your own PNS or peripheral nervous system, which are the receptors on your skin, through touch. And the signal, which is picked up by your nervous system, is processed in your brain. And what happens is those areas that we target with the technology are optimized. And so what happens? Your brain functions better and you function better. And we're going to hear today from Stuart about his journey and then how he came into this tech and how it's helped not only him, but others that he shared this about. And this is what this is about. It's about sharing knowledge and technology to help you with your quality of life. So without any further ado, we are going to welcome Stuart Holcroft to the show and can't wait to hear. Stewie, you are live. Welcome to our call. Good to have you.
Good evening,
Very
folks.
Good evening. It's quite the backdrop you have there. I didn't know you were a bartender in your background, but you know what? That's a big part of golf, right? It's the after the round of golf. You sit into the clubhouse and everybody has a meal and shares a few drinks and gets to talk about their golf game. So, Stewie, I just wonder if you could, for our viewers, tell us a little bit about the young lad that grew up in the United Kingdom and your story and where it took you in the area of athletics. And then we're going to kind of get into some of the changes that happened to you later on in life with some of the stuff you're involved with right now. But if you can tell the viewers that part of your life, that would be awesome. Where you go?
Yeah, sure. So started off in a place called Lancashire in England, and started to kick a football around in the local streets, and we played in the little alleyways and gullies, and started off with sports from there really, and then started to progress into playing cricket on the big sports field, a bit of rugby, a bit of football, and the as you can see on the image on the bottom right here. Flat green bowling as well, which is the family activity that we all undertook. A bit of golf, so lots and lots of different sports, and that sort of fired off my imagination for the whole world of sports. Then school happens, work happens. Joined the Royal Air Force, discovered the game of hockey, which is my I suppose my main sport really in terms of the all the different ones that I took part in. So field hockey, as opposed to the kind of hockey that Canadians are used to, involves running around on the pitch, getting completely hot and sweaty. And I played in centre midfield, so I was called something rude by different players, as in the guy that runs around a lot and just does all the work for everybody else. So that was kind of my introduction to major level sports. Played in the Royal Air Force, played at RAF level, and learned about sports psychology, coaching. I was an umpire as well, and lots of different sports I've been coaching with as well. And then from there, learned about sports psychology that you kind of referred to. So did a psychology degree, did lots of psychotherapy type courses, and started to develop the mind set coaching that I'm currently involved with.
Very cool. So when you're a young lad, the different sports you play, and I've done being bowling on the green, but the Canadian version is is a different type of lawn bowling. We do it on grass and on this one here we've seen. I haven't played field hockey yet, but golf and rugby that's been in the background. Was one of the sports your your favorite sport growing up as a young boy? One that you kind of excelled at that you got this is where I want to spend most of my time. Did you have one?
Yeah, it was rugby. So when I started playing rugby, I was coached by the who then became the Scotland head coach, a guy called Jim Telfer, very renowned rugby player. Before we had internet, so we didn't know that he had a history of playing number 8 for Scotland. So it turns out he was quite a good player, and then went on to coach the British Lions and lots of things as well. So it was rugby, and then my height and my physical bulk stopped developing. So I found out very quickly that my body shape and rugby weren't best suited to each other. So I started to then excel at more sports that involved less physical contact. So I then stupidly took up field hockey, which then involved a lot of stick contact rather than the physical tackling contact. So it's kind of strange.
Wow.
And bowling was a kind of consistent thing because again the family played that, and so every time we were together with the family, that was the involvement there.
Very cool. So you're playing these sports, you're getting older, you go to school, you go down this sports psych side, getting into the mental side of sport, which I've seen from a background from a therapist perspective is a huge component to rehab. But then you branched off into, I call it a business side of sports psychology. I'm thinking with your fearless putting. And when I saw this, I was reminded of the pressure when it comes to putting in the game of golf. So how did this come about in your development in athletics, that I made the shift from the player to the performance coaching side with Fearless Putting, and how did that evolve and where did it go?
I think the shift started, Kevin, when I started to get some quite serious injuries. So as you're probably well aware, with field hockey in particular, it's very hard on the pelvis and lower limbs. So I started to get more and more injuries and started to work more and more as coach. And when I was coaching people, I discovered that they would work really well on the training field, and they'd understand the game really well, step on the pitch, and it was like they had the mind of a 5-year-old, and they had no recollection of any training. So that's when I started to look into the psychology of things to see, well, what is the fundamental difference between the player on the training pitch as opposed to the player on the field of competitive spirit.
Very cool. So what are some of the big takeaways that you began to learn with that mindset side of Fearless Putting? Because I was, when I was doing some prep work for the call, I'm looking at these professional golfers who like 4-putt from 2 feet away from the flagstick. And these are golfers that make millions of dollars a year, and they have this mental breakdown on the green. And I was on a call with another golfer, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this. And he was saying, Kev, there's not a lot of time we spend hitting the shot in a round of golf when you think of 18 holes. But we see we have a lot of time to think between each shot as we walk from one shot to the next. And what did you start to see or hear from your golfers that you could somehow make a difference with them, what you learned to help them, that they don't get the yips, as they say, on the green, that they could function better? Where did that go?
There are the way I teach people about the mindset of golf coaching and different sports is that there are 4 different aspects of your approach to playing. There's the bit where you prepare, as in you're arriving at the venue, you're training beforehand, you're doing all those things to prepare for the actual game. And specifically for golf, you've then got 2 other ones which are on the course itself, which is the shot, the process of making sure you're in the best mental and physical state for the individual shot, and then what you do between shots. So the time spent when you're walking between your ball and the next location, for example, is a crucial period for golf. And not a lot of people use that time wisely. They tend to focus on the negative things, or, oh my God, I'm in a bad place, whatever else. So it's about focusing on that and saying, right, we are where we are right now. Let's go through the process again of getting ourselves in the best mental and physical state for the next shot. And then, of course, the 4th one is the bit afterwards, how you think then about your performance, how you rationalize it, how you think neither positively nor negatively, but realistically about what you've actually achieved, and put it into some meaningful dialogue in your brain. Because as you well know, the way we talk physically is a reflection of the way we're processing things internally.
Right. So if you can give me a tip, or a viewer's a tip. So let's say I'm on a par 4, I hit my drive, not a bad drive. Or let's say I hit my drive and it goes into the rough. I don't hit the fairway, I hit the rough. So what have you seen? Like how do you train, or what's a nugget you could share with somebody said, oh my gosh, I didn't make the fairway? Because we always want to think negative, right? This is like a default mechanism with human nature. I got to think negative. So at least I hit grass. I didn't go out of bounds. So from that perspective, it wasn't a bad shot, because I still don't lose. I don't get a penalty stroke, but I'm not in the best place I could be when I look at ball placement. What's a technique or what's a technique that you would use with a golfer that has he's walking 220 yards down the fairway to that shot in the rough, to get himself in the right frame of mind to make the next shot in regards to, I got to make par, or I'm still got a shot at getting a birdie? What's going through that?
Great question. So 2 aspects of that. First of all, the first one is that as soon as you've hit that bad shot, you immediately disassociate yourself with the result. because the results you cannot influence once you've played that actual shot. So you have to just find some way of just going, release it. Now, some of the coaches that have released books have talked about bounce hit. So I can't remember the name of the coach that wrote that particular one, but he was talking about you hit the ball, watch it bounce, and then you release the emotion from that completely. The second thing is you can walk, as you're walking along, you can reconnect with nature, so you can feel the ground between your toes. Sorry, not between your toes, underneath your feet. I'm thinking about a different sport altogether there. So you can feel the ground beneath your feet. You can look at the trees. You can listen to the birds singing or whatever animals you have around you, and just reconnect with the natural environment. So you're not thinking about your next shot until you actually arrive at your next shot. And that way you can then take control and say, right, when you get to this next shot, then it's a completely unique scenario where you arrive at your golf ball and you say, right, first thing's important. What does a good shot look like from here?
Okay.
Because everything else beforehand and everything else afterwards is completely irrelevant. What does a good shot look like here? Then get your breathing under control, get your mindset under control, have a rehearsal swing or not, doesn't matter, whatever you do, but follow your process to give yourself the best mental and physical chance of hitting that ball well. And
so
then
like making the
Kevin,
shot,
sorry
then
to interrupt. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Oh my
If
goodness.
you did make a good shot,
Thank
is
you.
it almost like hitting like Control-Alt-Delete on your computer, and you're literally
Exactly.
coming back
So-
with a brand new screen? I got a new frame now. That's what we had to do in this call. Play Control-Delete, and we got a new screen. We got a new connection. I'm in a new place because I can't. You're right, because I can't do anything about the last shot. It's done.
Yeah,
I got to
it's
focus
done.
on
You can't
this
influence it.
shot.
There is no value whatsoever in giving any emotion to that shot you've just hit. None. Neither positive nor negative. Just let it go. And there's a great technique to do that as well. So again, there's lots of different things that I teach people. So a really good way to release emotion is to simply use your breath. So what you can do is you can watch your ball landing, immediately exhale completely.
Yeah.
And then take control of your breathing, then step off, walking, feeling the ground beneath your feet and this sort of thing as well.
And then my release in my breath is sometimes throwing my club when I had a bad shot.
Yeah, and again, that has a negative impact on the next thing that happens. So you've got to somehow keep a grip of your golf clubs. And again, it's about the breathing techniques. There's a great piece of wearable neurotech which helps to control anger as well. So by just controlling your angry response, you're less likely to throw clubs. And again, I don't think I've ever thrown a club in my life because I value them too much. But I see other people that throw them and kick their bags and do all sorts of ridiculous things, and I just think I'm just staying calm. All I could do to improve my next shot is to stay calm.
Well, Stuart, I saw a clip on YouTube where a golfer, like I think 3-putted, and he was in the process of he's going to snap his putter, and it's like, no, that's the wrong club to break, man, because I got to use this on 18 holes. I can chuck another iron in the lake, which I've seen happen. I've seen the club go airborne, and obviously from your expertise, may not be the wisest decision to do. Anyways. But
you can understand when there's tens of thousands of dollars or pounds or whatever currency it is at stake. You're bound to get very
for us amateurs, it's like the pros are going, I got clubs left, right, and center, but the amateurs are going, I spent a lot of money on those clubs, man. I'm not throwing them away.
No, but for competitions, when the pros are in a big competition and they've broken one of their clubs, they can't use that anymore because it's been altered. So they do understand that you can't use it anymore because it's been changed radically. So yeah, exactly right. Break a putter, it's a disaster for the rest of the round.
So Stuart, can you explain to us what's that photo that you have where you're bending the club there in that picture? Where did that come from?
That was an angry, just to portray the anger emotion.
Oh, amazing!
And it was a club that I'd had for several years, and it was a child's club. So I took the opportunity with a photographer to do some branding photographs, and then I had me shouting with joy and all sorts of frustrations.
Oh,
So
that's
Stewie,
great.
as we transition here, is there a story with an athlete that you work with that was having these mental issues on the course, and then through your training was able to transform their game? Do you have one that on the moment, Kev, I got a story. I've got one about a particular golfer. Do you have one?
Yeah, so one particular chap who was he was having lots of issues with his putting in particular, and his long game as well. I'll stick with one.
Good.
So one guy who had lots of mental problems with putting, and he just took so long over analysing things. A very clever guy, very left-brained, so very analytical, and he was assessing all the different pieces of information. And I got him to stand on the green. I would rotate him round, facing towards a hole. Didn't tell where it was. He had his eyes closed, and then dropped the ball on the ground in front of him, and he had 2 seconds to hit the ball towards the hole. And we did that again and again and again, and he was getting far better results by being instinctive and reactive, just to that instant of there's the hole, hit the ball. He then won his championship 2 weeks later.
Wow. So
That's
I got to make a
impressive.
trip to England.
Right?
I got to make a trip to
I'll go
England
with you,
because
Kevin.
I need your help. I'm right there with you. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So
and another
Norm,
one very quickly as well.
Stewie, so you.
Yeah, so a chap who had the yips, but on the fairway, and he told himself that he couldn't hit a shot without seeing his shadow on the ground. So this is a +2 handicap golfer, right? So very, very seriously good golfer.
Wow.
So I got him to do some imagineering and setting a trigger word in his head that meant he was allowed to hit the ball. So he had this thing where he was just over-analysing, thinking, I can't see my shadow, I'm negative. And sometimes he said he was playing mixed doubles with his wife, and she sometimes had to take the shot for him. But just by having that trigger word for him meant that he could just go and freely hit the ball.
Wow. Like I can't even imagine the pressure that they must feel. Like I know from firsthand experience, I drove a ball. It was a par 3, and it hit a hill and landed 3 feet from the pin. Now, closest I've ever hit. I actually won a trophy for closest to the pin, and I missed the second shot. So how does a golfer get over that, or you just missed that big putt, which could be the difference between winning or losing is 1 stroke.
The important thing here, Norm, is that you never miss a putt. You always make the putt. It's just that the ball missed the hole.
Wow.
That's deep.
That's deep. Very deep.
And if you have the attitude that every time you take a shot, you made the shot, it's just that the ball didn't do the right thing, or the correct result wasn't achieved, it's outside of your personal control. So therefore you can release that emotion about, oh, I've just missed this thing. And one of the worst things about golf is that we hear these commentators on the TV all the time saying, oh, it's a nasty 6-footer downhill, his knees must be trembling. And we kind of learn from that as well. So instead of that, we have to think that every time we take a unique shot, which is every time we face the ball, every time we stand up to it, what does a good shot look like here? Okay. Then rehearse it. What would it feel like? What would it look like? What would it sound like when the ball trickles into the cup, for example? And then step up fearlessly and just tap it on that line. If it doesn't go in, so be it.
You made the putt, but somebody moved the hole. That's it. Somebody moved the hole. They moved the hole. Yep. They moved the hole on me, man. They moved the hole. So Stewie, you're in this performance side now. You're helping golfers enjoy the game, play the game better. And then, like all of us with this super patch technology journey, you get the phone call, or you hear about somebody says, Stuart, I got something I want to show you that's going to help you, not only you, but with your golfers. Now, we have a lot of stuff, but I want to hear your perspective here now that as we transition, what's going through your mind when you got that call, or I'm sure you remember it because most of us do. And then what happened to you that said, this is pretty cool stuff. I can see how this can be fit just like the right club in my bag. I need this club, new hybrid driver, all the stuff that we see the technical side of golf. What brought you to that decision, and what was your experience like?
So my very first experience was when I got that phone call. I just said to, do you mind if I swear, or is it not allowed on this call?
Yeah, you can swear in British terminology. We'll just bleep it out, I guess. You know, welcome to locker room. Or you can use, there we go. We got the drum roll. We got the drum roll. Or you can just put here. There we go.
So when I got the phone call, and this chap said to me, it's helping golfers to hit the ball further, straighter, longer, less shock dispersion. They're getting more energy, more power, more stamina, more control, more focus. I said, that sounds really interesting. What is it? He said, it's socks and insoles. What? It's what?
Yeah.
No way. Absolutely no way. He said, well, why don't you take it on a 30-day risk-free trial? You pay your money, doesn't work for you, you get your money back. Okay, not a problem. So I tried it for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks I said, this is rubbish, it doesn't work. It just does not work. It doesn't change a single thing. He said, are you wearing them in bed at night? No, I've never worn socks in bed at night. He said, well, you said you would wear them 24 hours a day. And I said, yes, you're absolutely right. First night of wearing these stupid socks in bed, rubbish night's sleep because I wasn't used to sleeping with socks on, so my feet got discomforted and this sort of thing. Second night, had the most amazing, vivid dreams and woke up feeling alert, refreshed. And I thought, that's strange. Third night, did the same thing again, had the most amazing, vivid dreams, woke up really refreshed in the morning. And then I started to go to the gym on a circuit training with loads of people in the room. And I was working alongside a chap exactly half my age. And it was his birthday. So the coach said, hey, I can't remember his name actually right now off the top of my head. But he said, what would you like for your birthday? He said, I'd like to not work with this guy anymore because he's showing me up. And I was, and I just felt so good, so fit, so strong and healthy that I just kept going and going and going. And also the 2 or 3 days afterwards, my muscles weren't aching either. And that's when I realized that this is something a bit different. And then at that point, about a month after that phone call, I started to look into the science and the efficacy and the studies, the trials. And I thought, this is... It seems too good to be true, but I'm going to really stick it.
This must have been a mind work for you, because here you are is this logical guy, you know, of the analytical side of golf, and all of a sudden you come into this tech that sounds like so far out there, and then but again, you know, you had your experience, and then as you went on this journey of learning more about the technology and learning about the science. And for those of you watching this call and watching the recording, we have greatly expanded our club selection. I'll call it that. You know, I think back to the old days of you had 5 clubs in a golf bag, you know, the putter, driver, and a couple on 3, 5, and 7 iron, I think it was when I played golf as a kid. Yep. Now you got the full complement, which is we have now. So as a performance coach and as a golfer, Stewie, you talked and shared a bit about, Kev, I found my 3 favorite clubs in the bag that I always play with. Welcome to our technology. And so if you could share from your own personal experience with the viewers, just a little bit about each one of these techs and how they have made an impact on not only you, but on the people that you work with. So if you could just touch base on these 3 patches, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, okay. So the first one that I'll talk about is the one on the right-hand side of the screen, which is the called the Defend patch. For the last 3 years, I've been wearing this particular kind of patch. It used to be called something slightly different in the start of it, but it's now called the Defend patch. For 27 years before then, I had seasonal hay fever like you could not mention. Yeah. It was just awful. I mean, my face used to leak. I used to have dry throat, difficulty breathing. I couldn't go in the long grass on the golf course to find my balls. So lost balls left, right and centre, which is a small irritation compared with the irritation of hay fever. or I'd take medication and it would cause abreactions like make me fall asleep or drowsy or just that horrible druggy type feeling that I used to have. So anyway, 3 years ago, this patch came out, and every season since then, I've been absolutely loving it. And it's this patch right here.
Very nice.
And I wear it.
Very nice.
Every,
Nice farmer's stand, by the
day.
way. I like that. Nice farmer's stand. I like that.
Yeah, I wear it every single day, and it helps me to helps me to exist in summertime, which is fantastic. The middle one is the victory patch, which is on this side. So the victory patch, which replaces the socks in terms of their ability, so it helps to get me balanced, coordinated. It allows my brain to optimize across all the different areas, which will mean nothing to people unless they understand that the brain has different functional areas in different parts of the brain. So if some areas are working really fast, for example, anxiety, I think Norm mentioned about anxiety beforehand. So at the front of the brain, generally, and there are some other parts of the brain involved, if your brain is acting in an anxious way, it'll be fast firing to the front of the brain and the other areas won't be able to be used. So if you think about memory, for example, where are those keys? I need to get to this meeting. Where are the keys? Where are the keys? And you can't find them because your brain is just not working in those memory recall areas because your brain is firing very quickly at the front. So this helps to calm the whole brain down. Certainly helps me with stamina, energy and power on the golf course. Until 2 days ago, I carried my bags, all 14, and spare balls and everything else. And I never felt that I was holding behind anybody else on the golf course, especially towards the end. And the other one is the focus patch, the one that's just wobbling at the side there, which is brilliant, which helps to keep my brain engaged the whole time. So again, playing sport for 4 hours, you cannot possibly keep your concentration for the whole time, especially if you're feeling a bit tired. So combining both the victory and the focus together means that my brain is as sharp at the end of a 4-hour round as it was at the very start. And yesterday, played a fantastic game, and at the end, the guys said, "Wow!" They said, "I'm really tired. I feel like sitting down." I said, "Not me, governor." So yes, for golfers, I just find this for me works really well. Victory and focus for keeping yourself alert and strong and supported on the golf course. And specific for me, the defend patch is the one that helps me to play the game without suffering physiologically.
Yeah, yeah, because you can't focus. You're worried about you're grabbing the Kleenex or what have you. Now, Stuart, let me ask you. So, of everybody we've interviewed, they talk about recovery. Now, with any sport that you play, like with tennis, if you're practicing for 4 hours, if you're golfing for 4 hours, if you're at the gym and you're training for 2 hours, naturally the next days after the sport, you tend to be recovering, and it could take 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So how is your recovery before wearing this technology, and then how is it sped up or improved since you've been wearing this technology?
Yeah, so specifically, so I discovered this technology shortly before I started going to these gym classes. And again, I said I was working alongside people half my age and working really well. And certainly I found that for 2 or 3 days afterwards, before the technology, I could barely walk downstairs, being really honest with you, because my legs were just so stiff and awkward. And then started wearing the technology, specifically the socks, which is the equivalent of the victory patch. And I found that I'd get probably some twinges a day or so later, but nothing that would be anywhere near as bad as I would call them Douglas Bader legs. The legs just won't bend, just keeping them straight the whole time. So certainly in terms of the recovery from activity, it's been amazing, the difference for me.
Very cool. Very cool. I was interesting with our work with golfers, Stewie, that, there's different metrics you can measure. And I think we'll have another call on that with some of our different golfers that we have lined up to talk about, club head speed and rotation and all these other metrics that, especially on the pro tour, with some of the length of the holes that they have to drive and hit. The power side is like a huge part, but obviously power with accuracy is even more so. So it puts a lot of thinking ideas into a golfer's brain going, here's something that I can easily incorporate into my golf game. And, as I learned talking to athletes, you got science papers and you got stories and all this stuff. But I said, the lab experiment is on the course. I'll tell you if this stuff is legit, Kev, by what happens to me on the course, along with the mindset side that you brought in with the game. So it's almost like a marriage, like it's the golfer and the caddy, right? It's the golfer and the caddy working together to allow the golfer to be their best with shot selection, all the other components that go in there. So as we've seen with the story with people, they have, as we share information, there's a recipe that we call it, of choices of what to offer somebody. And there's a new one on the slide here with this piece patch. So with your clients, how did this one come into the club selection? And again, why? And is there a story? Do you have a story with a client? Because it's a little bit different with the Liberty and Peace patch of how this threesome, when you think of it, has made an impact on somebody that's been dear to you as a client, a family member, or a fellow golfer that you play with. Do you have a story on that?
Yeah, so often when I go to business networking meetings, I ask to be referred to sports coaches, people that run gyms and people that do like I do of teaching people how to get the best out of their sports. But very occasionally people come to me and say, hey, I've got this thing or that thing. Can you help me with that at all? So one of my favourite stories of all time is an experience of all time, not a story, is a young lady who worked with the National Health Service. She came across and she was watching me doing some demonstrations with people, doing the balance assessment and dynamic stability assessments and things. And she said to me quietly, I'd like to have a go, but I'm really nervous. So I said, I've got this piece patch. Would it be okay if I put this piece patch on your arm, leave it for about 20 minutes, and then see how you are then? And her friend, who also works in the National Health Service, said, what's in it? And had the normal interrogation. Nothing sinister, no drugs, no chemicals, etc. Just use bridges, feel them. Said, look at mine, feel mine. I wear them all the time. So she did it, and then after about 10 minutes, her friend then said, hey, how are you getting on? And she said, do you know, something weird has happened in my brain. I don't know what it is, but I now want to do this demonstration. So she came across and we did the demonstration on the pair of insoles, and then I put a patch on her arm, and she did the most amazing thing. She then said, would it be okay if I stood on one leg? I said, look, I can't control what you do. If you want to go on one leg, then do that. And she then, I don't think you get this on the camera, but she then stood on one leg and she said, you can't really see my legs. So she stood on one leg and she said, I can't do this. She said, but I'm standing there on one leg for about 10 or 15 seconds. She said, I feel really good. She then started walking around this bar where we were at the time. And she just said, look, I'm like a flamingo. She kept walking along going, one leg standing still.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then she started to shout to everybody, you've all got to try this technology. It's fantastic.
There you go.
And another chap who had mobility problems. So he was with a walking stick, and he had his stick beside his chair, and he said to me, could I try this and see if it helps me? I said, well, sure you can, David. Not a problem at all. So put a patch on. He then stood up with his walking stick and he started to walk, and he said, do you mind if I pick up my stick? I said, look, it's your choice, man. You just do what you want to do. So he picked his stick up, started walking normally, and he said, for the last 14 years, I've not been able to walk without a stick. And then he came back from his lap up and down, and he came back and he just went, he said, that's really weird. He said, because my head isn't shaking internally when I do that.
Wow.
I said, oh, so you have vertigo as well? And he said, I think I've got something like that. So he hadn't been diagnosed, but he said his head was swimming all the time. And with this patch on, he was able to walk properly and also not have his head swimming. And he just said, this is amazing, absolutely amazing. And, I see people like that all the time, as I'm sure you do as well, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, for those
Stuart,
of you that are listening to this, you know, what you need to understand here is this technology that we wear, we don't treat, diagnose, and cure. Okay. We don't do that. We just optimize the nervous system. But what you need to understand is the one technology that Stuart's talking about called the Liberty Patch, or Liberty and Victory work together. Victory is more on the athletic side, but they work in the same part of the brain. It works in a part of the brain, folks, that's in charge of your balance, power, stability, stamina, speed, endurance. So when you have somebody who has these challenges and it's not optimized, they have symptoms, right? We see how they struggle with their walking or their balance. And then when the tech comes on through the science of touch, that part of the brain that's not working quite right is like being in the rough. You can be on the fairway with a perfect lie, or you're in the rough. Where would you rather be? I want to be on the fairway, Kev, all the time. Why? That's where you want to be as a golfer, because you can hit the better shots. But imagine having a patch that could take you from the rough to the fairway like this. That's mind-blowing, and that's what we hear. That's what we get with some of these stories. In fact, we got a lot of these stories. So again, in sharing with the viewers and those that feel led to share this with your friends, this is why we do this, because we meet a lot of people like golfers. I met Stewie that can't golf properly because they have a mental block, and I got to get this thing fixed because it's affecting my golf game. And then what we do with the neurotech is optimizing the brain and having that shift and helping it function better, so you can be not only better at golf, but all the other stuff you got to do in your day. Because we can't play golf all day. Some of us would love to play golf every day, like me and Stewie and Norm and anybody else that love golf, but we can't. But a pro golfer makes their living doing this. But some of us, golf is a major part of our recreational sport of what we love to do in life. We love to play golf, whatever that is, what you love. So this is the coolest thing with the science and the stories that we have with that. So pretty powerful in regards. Norm, you have any other questions or closing comments before we kind of bring our show to a close here?
You know, yeah, because as an athlete, I mean, we've all had our stories. We've all been impacted. I mean, we wouldn't be here without this technology. Let's face it. So it's brought us all together. And, you know, knowing from an athletic perspective, you're an athlete and you know your body, you know how it functions. No one's going to tell you what to do. No one's going to tell you that it works. You can't push this. So what we're good at doing is saying, here, you go try for yourself and do your own test. And for me, like you, Stuart, I was told, wear these socks to bed after a month of wearing the insoles. And I said, you're flipping nuts, and more colorful words. But he said, do you trust me? And because we're sharing this as a friend, you trust that person who's, because all they want to do is help you get better, whether you're at your top level or you're suffering with something. So we want to help you.
Actually,
right? And so
actually, Stewie, you brought up a good point where Norm, I just want to touch on the thing with sleep for the viewers, that when you talked about dreaming, this is a question I ask people. Say, Kev, I'm having some sleep challenges. I said, let me ask you a question. When is the last time you had a dream? And they go, I don't remember, Kev. I said, that's the wrong, just so you know, folks, that's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
That's the wrong answer. You're supposed to dream every day. Every time you go to sleep, it's a sleep cycle. There's a great book out there by Dr. Matthew Walker called Why We Sleep. If you really want to learn about sleep, buy the book. You want to learn about mental coaching, contact Stewie. But I said, this thing about sleep for an athlete is so paramount. It's everything in regards to human performance. And when you're not dreaming, you've got some challenges. And so I love when you said I had these vivid dreams, and it was like, yeah, you got pretty excited when you said that, because it's probably, I can't remember last time I had a vivid dream, Kev. And it's like, we had them as kids, but then we meet people that have some challenges in life. And they go, I gotta get back to dreaming. Yeah, dreaming, it means your brain's in a really healthy state.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the sleep cycle. So I love that you shared that. So folks, we have in the bottom part of the screen here, we have a lot of different clubs in our bag, as I call it. Just like Stuart, when you go to play golf. So we actually, remind me again, how many clubs in the bag? I forget now. How many clubs in the bag are there?
14.
14?
Maximum 14.
Okay, so we got
Yeah.
11. We got 11 clubs versus 14. So we're working on the other 3. We got stuff coming. But it said, imagine going and working on this part of your game with options, just like Stewie showed with his arms. With I got my favorite text that I wear because how it helps me function better. You can now try your own experiment. So, Norm, any last tweaks on that you want to share with before we go to the last hole? We're on the 18th hole here. We're on the 18th hole. We're making the last couple of shots. What do you got?
So, Stuart, I will ask you. So, what would you say to someone who is maybe watching this live or they're watching the recording and they're wondering, like, could this really help my game? Could this really help me in my performance and my wellness? What would you say to someone?
Do you know, the fundamental thing is that we have a money back guarantee. So there's no drugs, no chemicals, nothing invasive in this technology. So it's completely safe to use. People of all ages can use it. So I would say to anybody even thinking about improving their quality of brain work and helping their body, give it a try. You have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain, because we're a very ethical company. We've got your back.
Yeah. That's cool. Amazing.
And sorry, Kev, can I just mention another thing which we haven't touched on before?
Sure.
Even a patch for pain.
Yeah.
So golfers, like one that I was playing with fairly recently, he kept talking to me about pain in his leg as we were playing around the course. When I got back into the clubhouse, this is yesterday, he said, my left ankle is really sore all the time and it's starting to throb now. I said, would you do me a favor? Would you wear this particular patch? So I always take the patches with me now whenever I go around to places. Yeah. Put the patch in his leg, and within 1 minute, he was walking around saying, what have you done? What's in it? Is it like an ibuprofen? No. I'm not going to tell you, but you enjoy that for 24 hours and then get back to me afterwards.
I love that story, Stewie, because I had a golfer when I was working with. He says, Kev, I have so many problems now that I used to love walking 18 holes. Walking was part of the mental part of golf, the scenery, the conversations. But Kev, I can only walk the front 9, and I got to cart the back 9. I can't walk the back 9 because I got problems, right? And low back is a huge problem with golfers because of twisting and rotation, all that kind of stuff. And I get into it. But when he started wearing the tack, he goes, you're not going to believe this, Kev. I walked 18 holes of golf. And he was so happy because this was part of the experience of playing around the golf. The walking was part of the exercise along with the social and the game. So just a great story. Great analogies, and Stu, I thank you for being part of our inaugural UK call, and what you've shared and what you've done to help grow the mission overseas with the people that you touch and reach out to, and for those that want to reach out to you, they can connect up with Norm and myself here as they bring this show to a close, as they say. And again, it's been a pleasure hearing from you, and look forward to hearing more of your stories down the road. And Stewie, if somebody had to get hold of you, what's the best way in regards to that? They get through this call, but is there somewhere they can reach out to you if they had anything about golf and performance and mindset? What would be the best place to contact you?
Yeah, sure. Probably the best place at the moment would be a direct email. So it's Stuart@fearlessputting.com. So it's all one word, fearlessputting.com. And Stuart was with U and A, or they can do info@fearlessputting.com, and that'll get through to me as well.
Cool. I will put that in the chat. Excellent. And we'll put that in the show notes. There we go. Stuart@fearlessputting.com. And
Yeah, sorry, I was getting my skates done before I get out here. I was getting my
wrong
clubs
sport.
sharpened, and
Wrong
oh my
sport.
gosh,
Wrong
I'm so
sport.
sorry.
Yeah. Field hockey, ice hockey. Normally we're all
Right?
messed up today, man. But hey,
all over the
you
map.
got a great heart.
But I'm glad I made it. and Stuart,
I'll carry his clubs anytime, Stewie. I'll carry his clubs
Yeah.
all the time, so we can just focus on the
Right?
golf game. So it's all good. So
that's amazing. No,
all
Stuart,
right,
thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being here. It's been incredible.
You're welcome.
And hopefully we look forward to having you here again with an update.
Yeah, I just love sharing this technology with people because it, you know, as Kevin I think mentioned before, it changes people's lives.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't enjoy sharing stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Very well said. Very well said.
Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, you can reach out to us at any one of those emails. ReKonnect to you, for me, for Kevin. And on that, from Kevin and Norm, Kevin, enjoy the rest of your day. And everybody, thank you so much for watching. Until next week, we'll see you again on ReKonnect to you.